This is the Greg Bedard Patriots Podcast with Nick Cattles.
Hey everybody, welcome into the Greg Bedard Patriots Podcast. I'm Greg Bedard. No Nick Cattles next to me today. I had internet issues today. Screwed up our timing. Nick wanted to be here, but it just didn't work out. So you're stuck with me for the next 35 to 45 minutes. And let me give you an overview, sort of what we're going to talk about on this podcast, which of course is brought to you by FanDuel, the exclusive wagering partner of CLNS Media Network. Sign up at fanduel.com/Boston and claim your $200 bonus. And also AG1 from Athletic Greens, where you get 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source ingredients, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. Mother's Day's coming up. Father's Day's coming up. I'm telling you, AG1, looking for something to give them AG1. They'll love you all year long. I'm telling you, you won't regret it. So in this podcast, we're going to talk largely about what Bill O'Brien, Jerod Mayo had to say, Matt Groh, as well. A little JuJu Smith-Schuster talk. I watched some film on him the other day. I'll be writing him up for BSJ with 3 games worth of coaches film where I'm pointing some things out during the course of it. That's good stuff, and that's worth your. I'll also be doing that with Mike Gesicki and also the 2 offensive tackles together, Riley Reif, Calvin Anderson, sort of 3 installments on the free agents right before we get going on the draft stuff, which Kevin Field has been killing it over at BSJ with his draft coverage. I mean, he knows exactly what the Patriots are looking for. When I read through his stuff and I'm like, yep. I mean, I don't really need to say anything. I mean, I will in terms of guys that I like. People will remember that last year I loved Tariq Woolen on film, and I was like, take a flyer on this guy, 3rd or 4th round. Guess what? Seahawks did it, and they got a big bang for that. So we will be talking a little JuJu Smith-Schuster. And sort of like the overarching thing is in this is, now that we're getting going, and we do have the draft left. I mean, I don't think anybody out there thinks the Patriots are going to rock anybody's world in terms of what they get in the draft. I mean, I'm sure they're going to get good players. The last couple of drafts have been pretty good, and they'll get good players. Some of them will contribute, some of them won't. But are they going to materially change the direction of the Patriots? I mean, last year, Cole Strange started every game. Jack Jones had pick sixes and did really well before he got suspended. Marcus Jones had touchdowns. And the Patriots went from 10-7 to 8-9. Again, we know it's not about that. It was about something else. But we're going to sort of work off the question that I posed to Matt Groh. Where I asked him, like, it looks like the personnel department doesn't think it was the personnel last year because they largely run everything back. And so what exactly has changed since last year? Of course, one thing that has changed is Billy O'Brien's here at offensive coordinator. Billy O'Brien in, Matt Patricia and Joe Judge out, which I think everyone is thankful for, especially Mac Jones. So Billy O'Brien met with the media. He was sort of the star of the show, and of course he said basically nothing. New year, we just got started yesterday, clean slate for everybody. Didn't mention Mac Jones by name, which, my guys at Felger and Maz have made a big deal out of, and, we'll get to that in a second. But there's a couple things I wanted to point out about, my reaction to what Billy O'Brien had to say. He was very tight-lipped about offensive changes, which I was disappointed in. Both myself and Tom Curran first, and then I followed up. We're asking sort of about differences, what we're going to see. What are we going to see? Is it going to be that much different than what we saw last time he was here? I asked him a question about, like, you've had a lot of different experiences since living here. He was a head coach. He coached Deshaun Watson, who's different than any other Patriots quarterback probably ever. And then he was in the college game, and which is, very different. And Coach Bryce Young and is it going to look different than what we saw last time? And he didn't answer the question. And, I'm not expecting a breakdown. I'm not expecting any secrets, but, if he would have said, yeah, the bones are still the same, which I think is true. I think the bones of the system is the same, and there might be a little bit more window dressing to it, which I don't think is a huge deal. But if he said that, or like, look, I've learned a lot of tricks in my time away, and I think you're gonna notice that pretty early on. Can't wait to get excited with the guys. I mean, that doesn't tell anybody anything. So I'm surprised that they didn't do that. That he didn't do that. I didn't love his question about that. I thought he could have been a little bit more informative. I know he can be more informative than that, and he was not. I will say, the lack of addressing Mac Jones by name, I don't think is a huge deal. I think it is noteworthy. I do think that you put everything together, from the way Bill has talked about Mac Jones, the quote-unquote trade reports, Bill O'Brien, and I don't think you can rule out something wacky from Belichick, even though I think Kraft would be like, you can resign. We have Jerod Mayo here ready to go, and Billy O'Brien. We're just fine, Bill. Like, you're not trading Mac Jones. He's the quarterback. If you want to quit, you can quit. I don't think it'll come to that, but I think that would be the reaction. If this were any other team, any other city, the way they have talked about Mac Jones, it's absolutely true that you would say something's up. Something, they're either trading him, cutting him, trading up to draft a quarterback, like all that stuff. Again, if this was any other place, it's not any other place. And that's sort of like my second point on this is you can't compare. And I heard, my guys talking about this the other day. Tony Maz and Felger, were saying, when Doug Peterson got hired or met the media for the first time, did he, of course he said a lot of glowing things about Trevor Lawrence. When Todd Monken was hired by the Ravens as offensive coordinator, even though Lamar Jackson was a free agent, he talked about Lamar Jackson because they know the chances are he's going to be there. And what Monken does from a college background, it helps take their passing game to a new level. So, and here's the difference between those other places, and you could talk about any place. At those other places, it's about the quarterbacks. It's about the players. I mean, when you hire a new quarterback, a new coach like Doug Peterson after Urban Meyer, the whole thing with a number one overall pick, the whole job interview is about what are you doing with that quarterback? Because he's not going anywhere for 5 years or at least 3 years. And he was the number one overall pick, so he's not going anywhere. And he was the consensus number one overall pick. So it's, how are you going to fix this guy? And that's the most important thing to that team. When Todd Monken interviews with Harbaugh, about their offense, it's how do you fix our passing game? And how do you get more out of Lamar Jackson in the passing game? How do we get more creative and productive in the passing game? So that's what his whole job interview is about. I mean, when Bill O'Brien, but here's the difference. When Bill O'Brien gets hired by the quarterbacks, when Bill O'Brien gets hired by the Patriots, first of all, I don't even think there was an interview. He was the only offensive coordinator interviewed. I don't care about Sean Jefferson or Adrian Clem or any of these guys. They're not real choices. Especially after what happened last year. It was just Billy O'Brien. And Bill knows him, and he knows of his coaching, and he knows this and that, and people who are close with him, like Josh McDaniels. And so there was probably no interview. And they certainly didn't talk about, so what are you going to do about Mac? Bill knows what Billy's going to do. When you come and interview for the Patriots, maybe when Tom was here, but again, they didn't interview anybody. They just graduated people up. It's not about the players here. It's not about the quarterback. It's about servicing Bill Belichick. Every other place you're servicing the quarterback or a special player, a franchise type player. First of all, the Patriots don't have one outside of Matthew Judon. And second of all, it's about servicing Bill Belichick. All those guys know it. They're coming here to work with Bill. The players are immaterial. And so when Bill O'Brien gets in front of the media, he's not going to talk about Mac Jones like Doug Peterson did about Trevor Lawrence, because the jobs are materially different. One is serving a franchise quarterback, and that's how he got the job on his plan for the franchise quarterback. Here, you're servicing the 71-year-old head coach because he needs to hear that stuff. And so when Bill O'Brien talks to the media the first time, it's not about Mac Jones. It's about Bill Belichick. He was asked a question about him. Glowing talk about Bill Belichick. That's what it's about in this stage of the Patriots regime under Bill Belichick. It's about servicing him and being loyal to him and saying the right things and not getting on his bad side. So it has nothing to do with Mac Jones. A couple other things that you need to understand about Billy O'Brien. That dude is smart as hell. He is. He may be a goofy package, bald head. He said he was 20 pounds overweight. He's made fun of his chin before. He's a really funny guy. He's got the teapot thing going on. But he went to Brown, okay? And that wasn't an accident. And he was a captain there, and he's a really smart player. And, just think, Billy O'Brien was at Penn State after Sandusky, never made headlines with anything that he said. He was in Houston before the Deshaun Watson suspension, but in Houston, he was on Hard Knocks. He dealt with hirings and firings, extensions, trade of DeAndre Hopkins, like all this stuff. The longtime personnel guy was sort of pushed out. Rick Smith, I think his name was. Then it was Brian Gaine, and all of a sudden he wasn't there in his job anymore. And do you ever remember a soundbite from Bill O'Brien? Was he ever ridiculed on Pro Football Talk or whatever? No, because he's too damn smart. He knows exactly what to say, and all these guys are taking they're not getting talking points from Bears and Bill Belichick, but they know what Bill's saying. They know what Bill said at the league meetings. They know what Bill said after the season. And the smart guys, they just parrot Bill. Bill doesn't need to say anything. They know. Just, all right, Bill's talking about it this way. That's what I'm going to do. And so I don't think there's any grand conspiracy or anything like that. That's just the way the Patriots operate. And the other thing I wanted to point out about Bill O'Brien is that, he kept saying over and over again, I think the big thing for us right now is everybody starts with a clean slate. When he was asked about Mac Jones, I wish somebody, I wanted to do it, but they ran out of time. I wish he was asked more directly about a quarterback competition and handling the quarterback. I'm telling you, he would have swatted it aside and just said, you know what? And this is the truth, guys. Everybody's competing every day. We're just trying to get better, and I'm just trying to create an offense and, make sure the players, he would do something like that. But, sometimes the question, needs to be asked. And O'Brien also pointed out that, it wasn't until 2 days ago that he could have a conversation with Mac Jones. I've told you this months ago when it was made a big deal out of that Mac Jones wasn't around yet. And I told you the rules prohibit it, and you can stomp your feet and you can whine about it and cry about it all you want. But it's the truth, and nobody's missing anything. And I don't care what happened 20 years ago and this and that. It's a different time. And plus, what you also have to understand is the offense that the Patriots are putting in, everybody's starting from the same spot. And so they need to learn. Everybody needs to learn going forward. It makes no sense. It makes no difference if the quarterback is ahead on things. And plus, Mac Jones knows what's going on, because the bones of this offense, the bones of the scheme are going to be the same sort of foundation that he had under Josh McDaniels. So he already knows that. He's just picking up where he left off, but you can't leave everybody else behind, including rookies that will be coming in once the draft happens. So it's not a big deal. Don't listen to people who are hysterical about this. It doesn't matter. Okay? They'll be fine. No one's falling behind. No one's costing anybody games. It's not about April. Okay? It's about July and August and then September. And they have plenty of time to get what they need done. And Bill O'Brien will make sure that they do. We will be back in just 1 second. Like I told you earlier, Mother's Day is coming up, Father's Day is coming up, and I'm sure your wife husband, dad, mom, like all this stuff, all the people that matter to you. I'm sure you're like, oh, what the hell am I going to get them this year? I got them X, Y, and Z in previous years. They have everything anyways. I'll tell you what to get them. What you should do is go to athleticgreens.com/Bedard and check out AG1 from Athletic Greens. I'm telling you, give them the gift of health. And I'm telling you, and I'm being forward with you, they will thank you for the next year. You buy them a year supply of this stuff and they will thank you. Okay. So what is this stuff? With one delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source ingredients, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, aging, all the things you're looking for. I'm telling you, you take it first thing in the morning on an empty stomach, and all of a sudden you get this jolt, and you get energy, you get focus, your memory's better. I'm telling you, it makes a difference. I take it first thing in the morning. It's now part of my morning routine. I'd be lost without it. I love how it contains less than 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals or artificial anything. It tastes clean. It is clean. You know, not all this processed stuff that you get, like even when you get one of those multivitamin pills. Like, no. Like, that stuff is gross. This stuff is clean. I'm telling you, it'll make a difference. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just 1 scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/Bedard, Bedard. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/Bedard to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. You know, help a brother out. Help me and Nick out. Go there. I'm telling you, buy a month, buy 6 months, whatever. Give it to somebody. Give it to yourself. And I'm telling you, I've heard from people on Twitter. They will say, Greg, I'm glad I listened to you. I feel so much better. I'm better at work. You know, I get better sleep, all this stuff. It's all from AG1. So again, help us out on that. Okay. Now, last year, let's move on to Jerod Mayo. So Mayo also met with the media. So the format the other day, in case you guys wanted to know, so it was 15 minutes with the defensive assistants and Cam Acord, and then 15 minutes with the offensive coaches. Briefly got to say how to introduce myself to Adrian Clem. But I just listened to Bill O'Brien the whole time because that's obviously the most important thing. And, you know, Mayo was the second biggest star, you know, because of course he's still here. Turned down the Carolina Panthers interview. He was asked about that and other things. You know, he was asked about, does he have a title? Does he have business cards? He says, I don't have a title yet, and I don't have any business cards. Is your role different? Yeah, there are some things that they allow me to participate in. I'm not exactly sure, you know, about the role. That's a BB question. What were some of the things that were different? Well, I was in some of the interviews during the interview process, which was a great experience for me. The offensive line interviews and also the offensive coordinator, it was good. And about, you know, why he passed on head coaching interview opportunities. Yeah, it's a great question. You know, I would say, first of all, my family's here. Second of all, I will say I love it here in Boston. Pretty much was raised here at this point. I came here in 2008. It'll take a lot for me to leave, but this is where I want to be. I feel the same way from the coaching staff and also from the Kraft family. So, you know, look, he also, the other also headline was roles aren't changing, that Steve Belichick is going to continue to call plays. He said, you know, why fix what isn't broke? You know, I still believe that, I think that the Krafts walked up right to the line about talking about being the heir apparent and you're next, or, you know, just hold tight. Bill's only got a year or 2 or 3 left. You're like, you're next. Don't go anywhere. You're next. I don't think they told him that, but I think they walked right up to it. basically. I think that's the only way you turn down a head coaching opportunity. There's some chatter that his agent thought that it was a token interview with the Panthers. I know it was not. From my sources there, they were very serious about Mayo. I don't like passing on head coaching opportunities, but if he's basically been told with a wink and a nod by the Crafts, like, you're next, sit tight, we don't want you going anywhere. And, look, this could blow up in Bill's face again. He hasn't made any changes, hasn't made any additions. If we have a losing record, he's out and you're up. So don't go anywhere, because I think you want to be here. We want you to be here. So I still think that's the way that they're going. So, back to sort of my overreaching opinion about all this stuff. And I asked, and it goes to the question I asked Matt Groh, which was, basically, Matt, from the outside looking in, you look at this Patriots roster and, you swapped out Jacoby Myers for JuJu Smith-Schuster. You added Mike Gesicki, which was an upgrade. You brought everybody back on defense. Special teams, you upgraded a little bit. From the outside looking in, it appears that the personnel department said, there's nothing wrong with our personnel. That was not the problem last year. It was other things, i.e., I didn't say this, but i.e. coaching. Everybody knows that it wasn't the personnel. And I said, is that fair? And he said, he said no. He said, I would not say that as a personnel staff, we said, oh yeah, our personnel was good enough. We've got to try and improve in every way. That starts with me. I've got to try to improve and do a better job and identify the players we think can help us win more games, because we've got to win more games. We're an 8-9 football team. As the old saying goes, you are what your record says you are. That's a losing record. I think we've got to get better across the board, identify the players to help us win more games. We've got to win more games. So, look, the bottom line for me, at this point in time, entering the draft, and will allow that they could do something major, player for draft pick trade, something during the draft, or trade up in the draft. I mean, it could happen. But the snapshot right now is the Patriots are basically the same team. And I'll get into JuJu Smith-Schuster in a second. Gesicki is obviously an upgrade over JuJu Smith. That's not very hard. But the defense is the same. It was limited against good quarterbacks and good offenses. The Patriots, of their 8 wins, 7 were against backup quarterbacks. And they haven't added to the team this year. They've largely just run it back. And Bill O'Brien obviously is the big poker chip that, he's the big difference in terms of what they're doing. And that will be an upgrade. But how big of an upgrade? And again, with the backup quarterback thing, I don't think you can just say, well, they're 8 wins, so they're going to get 2 or 3 games better. Not with going up against healthy quarterbacks, plus the schedule, which Sharp Football, Warren Sharp, I saw his chapter on the Patriots sort of draft preview, and he has the difficulty of schedule for every team, and the Patriots are last by a good margin in terms of how difficult their schedule is. And so the Patriots could be better this year, and they could have 7 wins, and they could be a much better football team. So, look, the Bill O'Brien thing is good. He's going to help. Clem might help. At least Billy O'Brien's there to coach him up on, like, hey, we need to do this more. That's another thing that they missed last year. Coaches coaching the coaches. The coordinator needs to coach the position coaches on his side of the ball. But the defense is the same. The coaching staff is the same. Special teams to be better. And Joe Judge will get involved in that. But largely they not a lot has changed, and I don't know if that's good enough. Obviously, Bill and the personnel department at Bill's direction are telling you that the problem last year was the coaching and the quarterback not taking coaching. A combination of the two. Probably depends on how grumpy Bill is on what the percentages are. If he was really being honest, he would say it was the Patricia decision, all of it, and everything else is an offshoot of that. But that's the big question I have about this team right now. Let me tell you about FanDuel. Grand slams, no hitters, and double plays are back. And there's no better place to get in on the MLB action than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, official partner of Major League Baseball. And new customers en masse can get in on the action with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Just sign up at FanDuel.com/Boston. Finally, you can bet all your favorite sports, from the money line to point spreads to players props and more. You can do it from anywhere. Your car, the bathroom, the bed, and guess what? Stanley Cup playoffs are going on. I'm watching it all the time. The Celtics are live, doing well, up 2-0 in their playoff series. You can bet on all this stuff. In-game betting, all that stuff. Makes it a little bit more fun, as long as you bet within your means. So bet now on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Don't miss your chance to get $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. Visit FanDuel.com/Boston and make every moment more. FanDuel, official partner of Major League Baseball. So, BSJ member question, $39.99. We cover all 4 major sports. Patrick Donnelly is our new Bruins guy. He's doing a great job during the playoffs. Really smart. We don't hold it against him that he went to BU, but he's doing a really nice job. And remember, I'm going to be doing some film stuff in the next couple days. Then once the draft happens, I'll break down every draft pick with some film analysis, and also my projection as far as the rookie timeline, what I see them doing, their role going forward. Also, you get draft coverage. I'll be in the comments doing a live blog during the draft, giving my opinion, what I'm hearing from NFL scouts, and only members can get that. You get my Q&As with all the writers every week. I'll be doing a post and pre-draft Q&A, so make sure you get over there for that. So no real question this week, but I just wanted to mention this, something I've been working on, and I think I said this earlier, but sort of working back before the draft on the free agents and looking at their film and what I think they're going to bring. And I started with JuJu Smith-Schuster. I broke down 3 of his plays: the Super Bowl, conference championship, and 49ers game from earlier in the season, week 7, I believe. And, sort of breaking down what I think they're going to do, how good they're going to be with the Patriots. And, I got to be honest with you. Watching the Super Bowl and conference championship game, I was not impressed with JuJu Smith-Schuster at all. He was slow. His blocking was okay, which isn't a big deal. And he was sort of, you could tell when he wasn't involved in a passing play, which I don't love. His route running isn't great. He rounds things off, not any explosion. And I was like, what are they doing? Like, Jacoby's better than this guy. But then I saw the 49ers tape, and that guy looked completely different. He looked great. JuJu was dealing with a knee injury. He was on the injury report at the end of the season with a knee injury. I assume that's cleaned up by now. If they get the guy from the first half of the season, upgrade on Jacoby Myers. If they get the guy from the second half, or if that's indicative of who he is now, as he's getting older, then I think it's a negative. I mean, but I can't tell you which guy's going to be showing up. Was Devontae Parker materially different than the guy he was with Miami as far as injuries and things like that? I don't think that he was. So just something I wanted to mention. There's good JuJu and bad JuJu. We'll see what the Patriots get. I assume, training camp, when we see him in practice field, preseason, early on in the season, everybody's going to be like, wow, this guy's so good. And his film against the 49ers was great. It really was. I was impressed. His route running was better. His explosiveness was better. So that's great. But the question will always linger out there, like, is he going to slow down? Is he going to get beat up? And, what are they going to get out of him? So I just wanted to tell you guys that. Thanks for joining. We missed Nick this week. But of course, the podcast was brought to you by FanDuel. Go to FanDuel.com/Boston to sign up. And also Athletic Greens, athleticgreens.com/Bedard. Go. Mother's Day's coming, Father's Day, all that stuff. go start a subscription for them. I'm telling